Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today is a new day, but it brings some incredibly heavy and unexpected news for our daytime drama community. Let's dive right into the latest updates and unpack everything that is currently going on behind the scenes. I literally cannot even process what I just read. I am staring at my screen and my jaw is just completely on the floor. I am trying to keep it together, but I am just so overwhelmed with emotions right now. No. I absolutely refuse to believe that the canvas is going to lose one of its most vital beating hearts right when things are getting this insanely complicated on the show. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me just take a deep breath. Okay, back to the point. If you haven't seen the rumors circulating tonight, you need to brace yourselves immediately. It is being heavily reported that Kirsten Storms might be stepping away from the role of Maxie Jones to undergo psychological treatment. And honestly, I am a complete wreck about it. I am typing this furiously because I just need to vent to people who actually understand what this means for the show, for the character, and for the fans who have been emotionally invested for literally decades. First and foremost, before I even get into the massive storyline implications, I have to say this loudly and clearly. Kirsten's health is the absolute number one priority. Always. I love Maxie as a character, but Kirsten is a real human being who has given so much of her life, her energy, and her talent to entertaining us. If she needs to step back to take care of her mental health and get psychological treatment, then I am 1000% behind her. Mental health is no joke, and it takes immense courage to step away from a high-profile job to focus on healing. I've been watching her since she took over the role in 2005, you guys. I practically grew up with her version of Maxie. She took a character that could have been just a typical one-dimensional legacy brat and turned her into this beautifully flawed, fiercely loyal, incredibly resilient woman. So if she needs a break, she deserves it more than anyone. And this is a massive towering, but as a fan of the show, I am absolutely devastated about the timing. Because the current storylines are practically screaming for Maxie to be front and center. Can we talk about this whole Cassius situation for a second? I am losing my mind over the fact that Maxie might not be around for the climax of this twisted narrative. Remember when they tried to do the whole evil twin thing in the past with other characters? Yeah, didn't work then either. But this is Nathan's identical twin, Cassius, running around Port Charles pretending to be the love of Maxie's life. And who is he dating? Lulu. Lulu Spencer, Maxie's lifelong best friend. We literally just had that scene recently where Maxie told Lulu she wanted Nathan to move on, but just not with her. Maxie gave them her blessing, kind of, but she was visibly uncomfortable. And now we know that Britt told Lulu that being with Nathan is a huge mistake because Britt knows it's actually Cassius. How on earth can you play out a storyline about Nathan's evil twin without Nathan's Wido being heavily involved? Maxie is the one who should be pulling the mask off this guy. She knows Nathan's soul better than anyone. I'm sorry, but I have to bring up James. Little James, Wes Maxie, and Nathan's son. Just the other day, Jen Sidwell, who is arguably the most terrifyingly calm, out-of-control villain we've had in ages, approached James outside of Bobby's while James was dressed for karate class. Sidwell was making creepy comments about lethal moves, and Cassius was standing right there. Cassius stepped in, sure. But Cassius is secretly working with Sidwell on Cesar Faison's final cold fusion project. If Maxie leaves the canvas right now, who is going to protect James Spinelli Mac? Mac is great, but a mother's fierce protective instinct is what we desperately need here. Maxie would absolutely lose her mind if she knew her son was anywhere near Jen Sidwell or a fake, manipulative version of his dead father. The dramatic potential of Maxie finding out that her son was hanging out with his father's evil twin is absolute gold. And we might be entirely robbed of it. I am so frustrated I could literally scream at my television. And this brings me to my absolute biggest fear regarding this news. Are they going to recast her? I know some people are loving the fast-paced storylines right now and might say, just bring in a temporary recast so the story doesn't stall. But personally, I cannot handle another Maxie recast. Remember when they tried this before? When Jen Lilly stepped in, or Molly Burnett. Look, no disrespect to those actresses at all. They did their best in an impossible, high-pressure situation. But Kirsten Storms is Maxie Jones. Her mannerisms, her rapid-fire delivery, the way her voice cracks when she's emotional, the specific iconic way she rolls her eyes at Spinelli. You simply cannot replicate that. It just feels wrong on every level. Every time there's a recast, I get pulled completely out of the show. I would honestly rather they just write Maxie off for a few months. Send her on a massive deception fashion tour in Europe. Have her go visit some obscure relative in Texas. Just don't put someone else in her shoes right when the Faison family drama is exploding all over Port Charles. Speaking of the Faisons, what about Britt? Britt Westbourne is currently fighting for her life, literally begging Ross Cullum for her Huntington's medication, while being forced to complete her father's cold fusion prototype. Britt is drowning in this Windermere nightmare with Lucas and Sidwell, and who is Britt's sister-in-law, who is the one person Britt actually respects and listens to besides Jason Maxie. Maxie and Britt's relationship evolved into something so profound and beautiful after Nathan died. If Britt is dealing with her evil half-brother Cassius and the dark legacy of Caesar Faison, she needs Maxie to ground her. Britt is currently panicking in the GH chapel because Rocco Falconeri just confessed to shooting Cullum to save her and Jason. Britt is carrying the weight of the entire world on her shoulders, and Maxie is about to just disappear. It makes zero narrative sense. I am so mad at the universe for this timing. Okay, let's pivot for a second because I am getting way too worked up about the Faisons. Let's talk about Brooklyn Quartermain. Brooklyn is currently spiraling completely out of control because she was driving tipsy, hit the guardrail, and fled the scene the night Jordan and Curtis had their horrific Route 91 crash. Tracy is aggressively forcing Brooklyn into this massive, strict cover-up. And Brooklyn is a nervous wreck. Remember the bond Brooklyn and Maxie share? Maxie trusted Brooklyn to hide her baby Bailey Lou in plain sight to protect her from Peter August. They went through hell together. Without Maxie around, Brooklyn has absolutely no one to confide in about her immense guilt over the hit and run. Maxie would be the one to talk sense into Brooklyn, to tell her that listening to Tracy's cover-up demands is a terrible idea. Without Maxie, Brooklyn is completely isolated in her panic. And what about deception? Lucy Coe is running around like a headless chicken, and Brooklyn is too distracted by her potential foster baby Phoebe and her criminal hit and run to focus. Where is Maxie in all of this? Maxie is the absolute glue that holds deception together. When Lucy goes off the rails and Brooklyn is drowning in her own Quartermain drama, Maxie is the one who steps in, rolls up her sleeves, and actually does the corporate work. If Maxie is gone, deception is going to completely fall apart at the seams. I can already see the writers using this real-life absence as a lazy excuse to tank the company on screen, and I am not here for it. They've worked too hard to build that brand just to let it crumble, because the chief operating officer has to take a sudden leave of absence. Wait, I just thought of something else, and it's making my stomach drop to the floor. The latest spoilers mention that Felicia Scorpio is going to receive some alarming, disturbing news. Everyone, including me, automatically assumed this was about Anna Devane having a setback or escaping the mental health clinic. Emma and Gio are heading to New York. Dante is asking Emma questions about Anna. It all pointed to Anna. But what if it's about Maxie? What if the writers are going to write in a medical crisis or a mental health crisis for Maxie to explain Kirsten's absence? Oh my god, I don't know if my heart can take that. Watching Felicia and Mac agonize over Maxie being in a facility or being severely sick, it would be too real. It would be entirely too meta. I do not want to watch Maxie suffer on screen while Kirsten is actively trying to heal off screen. They need to give her a peaceful, happy exit. Send her to Paris, send her to Milan. Do not put this character through more trauma right now. And what does this mean for Spinelli? We just heard Bradford Anderson and Steve Burton talking on their podcast about Danny wanting to join the mob. But Spinelli is still very much a crucial presence in Port Charles. Spinelli and Maxie have finally found this beautiful, stable co-parenting rhythm after years of chaos. If Maxie leaves, does Spinelli take full custody of the kids? Does he move into her apartment? I swear. If they use Maxie's absence as an excuse to regress Spinelli's character development or throw him into some ridiculous forced new romance, I will riot in the streets. Spinelli's entire universe revolves around Maxie and those children. Without her, they're to bounce his eccentric energy off of. I am terrified the writers won't know what to do with him and will just push him to the background. It's just wild how one actor's absence can completely destabilize the entire canvas. Think about how deeply connected Maxie is to every core family. She's tied to the Spencers through Lulu. She's tied to the Scorpios through Felicia and Mac. She's tied to the Quartermains through Brooklyn. She's tied to the criminal underworld drama through her dark history with Peter August and now the Faisons. She is the ultimate bridge character in Port Charles. Without her, there is a massive, gaping hole in the show's dynamic, I know some people think the show is too crowded right now. Anyway, with Ethan Lovett coming back and Sidwell's revenge plot and the whole Carly Valentin and Brennan love triangle taking up so much airtime. But Maxie isn't just filler, she is the legacy. You can't just pluck her out and expect the narrative machine to keep running smoothly. Actually, speaking of Ethan Lovett returning, remember when Ethan and Maxie used to interact back in the day? Ethan just returned on April 17, offering to wipe Jen Sidwell off the map for Sunny. Ethan has this whole dangerous protective vibe, and he's reconnecting with Christina. But Maxie and Ethan always had this incredibly fun, snarky, undeniable energy. With Lulu dating Cassius if Maxie were around, she and Ethan would absolutely team up to figure out what the hell is wrong with Nathan. Ethan is a seasoned grifter. He knows a con when he sees one. Maxie has been conned by the absolute worst. Again, looking at you, Peter. Together. They would have exposed Cassius in a week. Now we're going to have to watch Dante slowly put the pieces together while Lulu remains completely oblivious and fuming. It's just a tragic missed opportunity, and I am mourning the brilliant scenes we won't get to see.